Well, I'll be damned. Sony decided to make a Morbius movie. Fans of the comics can appreciate the fact that this character is finally going to the big screen. But I'm sure there's a lot of you who aren't fans of the comics who are wondering who Morbius is. Just what is he all about, and what can we expect from this movie? Well, I'm here to answer all these questions, and I'm also going to talk about how Morbius fits into the MCU and the possible clash with Blade and, of course, Spider-Man. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. Now, on with the show. Comic Origins. Morbius, the living vampire, was originally created by writer Roy Thomas, and he debuted in the Marvel Comics in the Amazing Spider-Man series. The story follows Michael Morbius, an intelligent individual who's established his name in the fields of medicine and is a Nobel Prize-winning biologist. But since his traumatic childhood, he's suffered from a rare blood disease that contributes to him being deformed-looking and will in time kill him. In an attempt to save his life, young Morbius decides to look for a cure of his disease with the help of his assistant using vampire bats and electroshock therapy. Due to the rush in trying to save his life, they didn't check to see if the procedure would have any side effects. Spoiler alert, it did. After the procedure, Morbius was cured of his disease, but the side effects were definitely unwanted. He developed pseudo-vampirism. That's just a fancy word for saying he became a vampire, but not an actual vampire, because he is vampire born of science with regards to other vampires being born of death and magic. In turn, Morbius didn't have to die to become a vampire. He's just a man who has vampire characteristics, but he's very much alive, hence the name The Living Vampire. He became even uglier than he was initially. His teeth grew into fangs, fingernails into claws, and he developed an insatiable need to consume human blood, and gained some pretty cool abilities, which we'll get into in a second. His bloodlust led him to killing a lot of innocent people, and also led to his fight with a Spider-Man who had grown 6 arms as at the time of their first encounter. Don't ask questions about that. As far as the contents of his character go, Morbius isn't a full-fledged villain. No, Morbius is portrayed as a tragic and sympathetic antagonist who is only bad because he is a slave to his vampire nature and lust for human blood. He is a character who is constantly riddled with the guilt for the things he's done, and he's constantly trying to find a cure to his vampire nature. Morbius has featured in several comics over the years, including his own Morbius comics, where he is mostly seen as an anti-hero rather than a villain. Apart from killing and blood-sucking, Morbius has done some good things. He's fought against the satanic cult known as Demon Fire. He saves his ex-fiancée, Martine Bancroft, when she gets into trouble. He's partnered with S.H.I.E.L.D. and even the Sons of Midnight. Morbius is notorious for killing people, and during one of his episodes, he had a run-in with Ghost Rider, who couldn't tolerate Morbius killing the innocent, and Morbius vowed to only kill the guilty and people who deserved it, making him a rather gruesome vigilante. Abilities and weaknesses. As far as abilities are concerned, Morbius has the basic powers of a vampire, which is increased strength, speed, increased senses, rapid healing, although he is not able to regrow severed limbs, and most recently, hypnotism. He also has night vision and echolocation. He doesn't have the more magical abilities of vampires like shape-shifting into bats and other animals, but due to the hollowness of his bones, he is able to fly, but the comics refer to his flying as gliding. Morbius is also not vulnerable to things that weaken your traditional vampire, such as garlic, holy water, silver, and crucifixes. He does have a low tolerance for sunlight due to his photolytic skin. He is also able to turn other people to his version of vampirism by biting them, although that is not always the case. And they don't permanently remain as a vampire, because Morbius was able to concoct a cure for such cases from his own blood. Told you he's not that bad of a guy. The movie version. The movie version of Morbius seems to retain a lot of the original elements from the comic origin, but Jared Leto Morbius pre-vampire doesn't really look ugly, but it does seem that his looks are compensated with the crutches and inability to walk. There does seem to be some differences to his abilities. I mean, What's the whole smoke and Nightcrawler effect? That's not really in the comics. It seems like the movie's plot is going to be based on Morbius's journey as he confronts his newfound powers and propensities. He also seems to be hunted by the FBI, and we even got to see Tyrese Gibson, who plays Simon Stroud, an FBI agent with a high-tech weapons-grade arm. So it seems like this movie will cover Morbius's origin, and he's probable to descent into villainy. I mean, the guy is seen killing people in the trailer, and we did get to see him in his full-on vampire form, with the glowing red eyes and monstrous face. So he might just be the villain in this movie. This is also corroborated with his meeting with Michael Keaton, who played Adrian Toomes, aka Vulture, in Spider-Man Homecoming, although he's not been confirmed to be playing that character. But come on, who are we kidding? This is a clear connection being established between the MCU and Sony Marvel Universe. In the trailer, we also see Morbius walk by a poster of Spider-Man with the tag Murderer clearly written on it. This obviously refers to the cliffhanger we saw in Spider-Man Far From Home, so it's clear that they're combining both worlds. Jared Leto, who plays Morbius, has even hinted that we might see Morbius meeting up with Mahershala Ali's Blade in the future, further cementing Morbius's connection to the MCU. So, in conclusion, the Morbius movie is going to be a wild ride for fans, seeing that the movie is going to be more in the horror genre, so it will be fun to see what comes of it. I am particularly interested in the Nightcrawler effects that we saw in the trailer, not to mention the fact that it looks like Morbius went to prison. There's still so many questions to be answered, and the movie can't get here sooner. Sadly, the movie is not set to be released until January of 2022, so it might be a while, but fear not, we're still going to be bringing more details on Morbius in the future. But until then, be sure to leave a comment on what you think about the Morbius movie. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and as always, thanks for watching.